Lakers Compacto, sponsored by El Pollo Loco. Hello and welcome to Access Sportsnet Lakers. I'm Chris McGee. Joining me, James Worthy, Robert Ory, Mike Bresnahan, and Allie Clifton will join us a little later on. This was supposed to be our scheduled pregame show filled with excitement for the Lakers to close out their first playoff series win since 2012. But as we have seen all through 2020, we are in unprecedented times. And tonight, there will be no NBA games. The players have boycotted in response to the police shooting of Jacob Blake in Wisconsin on Sunday. James and Rob, what was your reaction when you heard the Bucks and the Orlando Magic were not taking the floor? Rob?
For me, I look back at when James and I played, and I'm like, we had a voice, but we was really too scared to use it. Well, I can't speak for James. I'm going to speak for someone because it was such a, kind of a boys club. And now everything is opened up, and these young men have the ability to step up and say something. And when Milwaukee Bucks, and I'm so happy, I am so happy that Milwaukee was the first team to play. Because I guarantee you, if it was someone other than Milwaukee, they'd have played, and then Milwaukee probably came home and said, oh, but it started a snowball effect. I saw where the baseball team, Milwaukee, they're not going to play that game, the Brewers. And so for them to exercise their voice and step up and say, you know what? The only thing that seems to get people's eyes is hitting them in the pocket. And for them to say, we're not going to play this game, and for the other NBA brothers to say, okay, we're not going to play this game either, that's a strong statement. That for me, being a black man in America and being a NBA alumni, that was the proudest moment that I've seen outside of the things I've done in the sport. And to see those guys step up as a group, as a whole, and say, hey, enough is enough. And I'm just proud. I'm very proud. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it's been a tough week. It's been a tough year. It's been really tough witnessing, all the things that we've had to endure. And, there was a time in sports where black people weren't even allowed in sports. In baseball, we know Jackie Robinson broke that barrier. Earl Lord broke it, and Nat Cooper broke it in the NBA, and so on and so forth. So for a long time, if you were black and you were an athlete, you couldn't say anything, or you would be blackballed like Muhammad Ali was, or like Floyd was, who in baseball became a free agent and said, I can play where I want to play. And so there's been examples of systemic racism. And now that our current players, because when you're only making $300,000 a year back in the 80s, or you had a choice: lose my family, lose my job. There's a lot of pressure. But now these guys have a bigger platform. And that platform is due to guys like Jim Brown and Bill Russell, Muhammad Ali, and so on and so forth, Jackie Robinson, who lay down and risk everything so that these current day players now, particularly now, who not worrying about a salary, and a lot of them come from those neighborhoods. LeBron James was born in Akron, Ohio, homeless mother. It's not the first time he's seen this. It's not the first time these players have seen it. They've lived it. So that's power, to be able to pull your rank. It reminds me, I don't remember this, but I read about the protest of people not taking the bus in Alabama and how that hurt the city financially so much that they were going around trying to make black people ride the bus. It was difficult. And so I understand it and I get it, because the bigger the travesty, the bigger the protest. And this one is peaceful. It's verbal. We hear from our players and how they feel, and I commend them for for what they did today.
Powerful, both of you, and it is appreciated. And here's how it went down. The NBA and its players are demanding change in the aftermath of Jacob Blake shooting in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Players from the Bucks started the boycotts, leaving the court and staying in their locker room. They did not play their scheduled game at 1 p.m. Pacific. Thunder, Raptors, Lakers, Blazers followed suit in the boycott. The Bucks as a team gathered and read a statement on their decision.
The past 4 months have shed a light on the ongoing racial injustices facing our African-American community. Citizens around the country have used their voices and platforms to speak out against these wrongdoings. Over the last few days in our home state of Wisconsin, we've seen the horrendous video of Jacob Blake being shot in the back 7 times by a police officer in Kenosha, and the additional shooting of protesters. Despite the overwhelming plea for change, there has been no action. So our focus today cannot be on basketball.
When we take the court and represent Milwaukee and Wisconsin, we are expected to play at a high level, give maximum effort, and hold each other accountable. We hold ourselves to that standard, and in this moment, we are demanding the same from lawmakers and law enforcement. We are calling for justice for Jacob Blake and demand the officers be held accountable. For this to occur, it is imperative for the Wisconsin State Legislature to reconvene after months of inaction and take up meaningful measures to address issues of police accountability, brutality, and criminal justice reform. We encourage all citizens to educate themselves, take peaceful and responsible action, and remember to vote on November 3rd on behalf of the Milwaukee Bucks.
The league office sent out this statement. The NBA and the Governor Jeannie Buss. I was excited to see us play and hopefully close out the series tonight, but I stand behind our players today and always. After more than 400 years of cruelty, racism, and injustice, we all need to work together to say enough is enough. Justice for Jacob Blake. We hear you. James, you've known Jeannie a long time. This is a strong statement for unity between ownership and players.
Yeah, and, you know, it stems from her father, Dr. Buss, who was very, very conscious of what was going on in the world. And Jeannie has demonstrated that she is, she's conscious of what's going on in the NBA. And not only that, in the community in L.A. She's spoken out way before this even happened. She's been on the front of speaking out on behalf of the Lakers and how they support the communities here in Los Angeles and throughout the NBA family.
Rob, the league and Adam Silver, owners, players, they've all been on the same page during a lot of turmoil in 2020. How important is it now, as the players came up with this boycott, to remain unified and together?
It's extremely important, because you're gonna have those players who not making the dollars of a LeBron, or Kawhi Leonard. You're gonna have these guys that's gonna want to get them play because they're, at the end of the day, you want to take care of your family, but you don't want to be selfish in that. But you say, okay, if I don't play, I don't make the money to take care of my family. But I think in this day and age, these guys are gonna stand pat, and they're gonna say, hey, I understand it's bigger than us, and it's bigger than the game of basketball as itself. It's just something that. And I might, as a player, I might not have kids now, but for my kids to step into this world and not have to worry about going down the street and get, pulled over while being black. And it's one of those statements that we always say in our community, and people don't understand it, but they're starting to understand it, that, you always get nervous when you see that cop in your rear view, and you like, okay. And I remember plenty of times when I get pulled over by a cop at night, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, please be black, please be black, please be black. And it's crazy that you have to think that. And I know I jumped off the topic, but I'm just happy that these guys are going to stand pat, because, like I said, it's bigger than what's happening now. It's like they're planning for their kids' future or their kids' future. I hope before I leave this earth that there'll be a big change, but and we just got to wait and see. And I hope this is a stepping stone. And we said that with the George Floyd murder, but hopefully this is another step towards it being some equality.
The leader of the Lakers on the court has been LeBron James, and here he is tweeting about his frustration, demanding change. Sick of it. After Game 4, King James had pretty powerful words on the shooting of Jacob Blake.
If you're sitting here telling me that there was no way to subdue that gentleman or detain him, or to just, before the firing of guns, then you sitting here and you lying to not only me, you lying to every African American, every black person in the community, because we see it over and over and over. There was multiple, if you watch the video, there was multiple moments where if they wanted to, they could have tackled him, they could have grabbed him. You know, they could have done that. And why does it always have to get to a point where we see the guns firing and his family is there, the kids are there, it's in broad daylight, and who knows? I mean, if that video is not being taken by that person across the street, do we even know if we even see that video? There's like talks about that the cops didn't even have their body cams on. That's a possibility. It's just quite frankly, it's just in our community. And us, I know people get tired of hearing me say it, but we are scared as black people in America. Black men, black women, black kids, we are terrified, because you don't know. You have no idea. You have no idea how that cop that day left the house. You don't know if he woke up on the good side of the bed. You don't know if he woke up on the wrong side of the bed. You don't know if he had an argument at home with a significant other. You know if one of his kids said something crazy to him and he left the house steaming. Or maybe he just left the house saying that today is going to be the end for one of these black people. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. It hurts. It hurts. And it's this through the grace of God that he's still living. Like 7 shots, close range, and he's still alive. That's through the grace of God right there. And my prayers goes out to that family and that community. But I got nothing nice to say about those cops at all. As a community, we really want change. And it doesn't not only just end in November, but it starts there. It starts there. And but we got to continue to still keep our foot on the pedal then. Even if we get what we want, we still need more. What are we getting? Because right now of what's going on is just not okay. And but I hope I can continue to uplift my community, uplift communities all over America, uplift the black community. Like I said, that's part of the reason why I started More Than a Vote, to, you know, just to get people to understand how important our voices are. And the luxury of, you know, partnering with the NAACP today, trying to get younger kids in there to help with the polls and things of that nature because of COVID, and the older generation are at risk, and it's just so much that we have to do. It's not like it's going to happen tomorrow, but being organized and having a plan and keeping our feet on the gas pedal is something that we got to do. I know I'm kind of all over the place, but my emotions is all over the place as well.
LeBron James has been using his platform to bring awareness and fight for change. And Big Game, you brought it up earlier, those who came before him, Kareem, Bill Russell, Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali, all these people. He has a voice and a reach that many will never have, and he's using it.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of how to use your platform. And nobody's doing it better than LeBron. He's extremely conscious with his Get Out to Vote campaign that he has. We know what he's done in the inner city with schools and things of that nature, but you know, LeBron understands. I think he gets it because he's a historian. He's seen what's come before him. And you know, how many times does a contract have to be broken before there's some justice or there's some equality? You know, I'm a little older. You know, I read up on the Emmett Till. You know, the story of Emmett Till. I remember Rodney King. I read up on Tulsa in the 1920s during segregation when they made black people move away. And these black people just happened to be extremely successful. And they had a town and they burned it down and the Klan came in with the sheriff. So this history has broken so many contracts that we just don't know what to do now. Every time we sign on to something, we're going to do it better this time. We're going to reform the police. We're going to make new laws, and we're going to do this, and we're going to stop pulling people over and harassing them and driving while black. All those contracts get broken. Seems like every year or every day, and so it's frustrating, and we just don't know what to do anymore. And so that's why you see people using their platform, and I'm not even like, I don't even want anything. I just want equality. I'm angry, and I don't even, it's hard to even cry anymore because I'm just numb from seeing somebody get shot in the back 7 times. And I see other videos that don't quite, have the same outcome. So it's just hard to take. I'm 60 almost, and it's, I've seen a little bit more than these guys have. And the contracts just, they're not binding. I love what Doc Rivers said yesterday.
For me, yesterday, I was sitting there and I started crying. And my wife walks in, she's like, "Are you crying because you turned 50 today?" And I started laughing. I'm like, "No." I said, "Did you see the video of this guy getting shot?" And at first, I saw it. I'm looking at it. I thought, well, maybe they're going to tase him, right? Because that's what they do with white people. They tase them. And so I didn't have the volume up. And then Christian walks in the room. He says, "No, Dad, they shot him." So I play it again. I'm like, wow. They shoot this guy 7 times in the back. And then I have this conversation with Christian. And he's like, that's wrong, that's wrong. I said, yo, it is beyond wrong. It's just flat out evil. And I'm telling him, and it's hard to tell your 14-year-old son that I worry about him when he walks out that door. I have a 21-year-old son. I worry about him because black men are endangered species, pretty much. These cops are just killing because they feel like if they don't have their body cams on, they have a right. And I tell my kids all the time, I said, dude, I don't care what's going on because at the end of the day, I want you coming home to me. If you have to lay down on the ground and they can kick you, beat you, at least you're going to go to the hospital and you're going to come home to me. Don't, whatever they say to you, don't take it upon yourself to let that rage you have against that cop come out because he has the gun. He can end you. And I don't want him to end you because if he ends you, that means I'm going to end him. And I know that's wrong for me to say, but I'm so much a time to kill type of guy like Samuel Jackson, and this is going to happen with me. And I said, I don't want that to happen. I already lost 1 child. I don't need to lose another. And I don't think people understand, especially white people, how hard it is for black people to watch that. I know a lot of white people say, that didn't really happen. He provoked this. It doesn't matter what happened. To shoot a guy in the back 7 times, to shoot that guy in the McDonald's parking lot, to do all these things to a black person. When you see the videos of a white person with a gun, with a knife, and you running from this white person, or you tasing this person, that's the problem. And they don't quite understand. I look at all these people when something happened with animals and pets or an endangered species, they back them. So I want every person that is not black, like white people, to start standing up. No, don't just say Black Lives Matter and think that's the end of it. Start a fundraiser. Do something more than just using your voice. Use your platform also. It's not just about the black community using their platform. It needs to be the white people also, because black people made these actors and whoever politicians got money, they made them rich too by providing them with, going to watch their movies. So this is not just going to, this is a problem that's in the world, and it has to be solved by the world, not just the black people, and it has to be the community. It has to be us to come together and say we have to have some equality in this world and start treating everybody like we want to be treated.
Appreciate your words, Rob. Really do.
Yep.
All of the NBA games have been postponed for the day, including Game 5 between the Lakers and Blazers. We'll have more ahead on Access.